More moves are incoming for the Toronto Blue Jays as following Ross Atkins' big acquisition of Anthony Santander. Numerous reports from Ben Nicholson-Smith, Shi Davidi, and more have revealed that the Jays aren't done and that more moves are on the horizon. So we're going to break down these reports and discuss what this means going forward, as it's going to be a very interesting next few weeks for the Jays. But before we get into it, a quick reminder, hit that subscribe button. If you're part of the 70% who aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Jays content. And thank you guys for your continued support as we're on the road to 16,000 subscribers. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a ton to go over today. Now, obviously, the Jays made a big move, their first big splash of the offseason, acquiring Anthony Santander, at least the first big signing. They, of course, acquired Andres Jimenez as well. But this is more news has come out, more reports have come out, and an article just dropped from Shi Davidi and Ben Nicholson-Smith revealing that not only are the Jays not done adding, but they are going to push their limits when it comes to budget. And any budget, preconceived notion about budget that the Jays and we all thought beforehand is getting thrown out the window. And obviously, they acquired Santander today. That is all good. We'll dive into the lineup a little bit later, but this just dropped from Shi Davidi. In turn, using deferred money, as Los Angeles Dodgers aggressively have over the past 2 seasons for the first time, also helps the Blue Jays keep more spending room open, and they weren't done their pursuits after locking in Santander. What they will do next, to some extent, will help determine how heavily Santander is used in the outfield versus how often at DH, while the Blue Jays continue to be linked to Pete Alonso, who could also be used as a designated hitter and first base, with Guerrero on some action at third. Another outfielder like Jurickson Profar, who's also a switch hitter, fits both positionally and from a lineup diversification standpoint. So this is Shi Davidi saying, A, they're not done by any means, but B, also linking them to Jurickson Profar, which we'll dive into later in the video. But I want to go over some other reports that have dropped today. Good news for Blue Jays fans. There are more moves to come. The Jays aren't done yet. Hector Gomez, he was on the Anthony Santander signing a couple days ago as well. And you can see this here. Jays took longer term to lower this. Should help them continue spending in free agency going forward. And again, the contract, there's a few different things to go over with it. But Shi Davidi, again, on Sportsnet 590, The Fan, said they're very interested in finding impact wherever they can get it. Santander does not rule them out of other moves. And we have another report. So at this point, like I mentioned in the previous videos, when you have reports from a bunch of different reporters, it started with Ben Nicholson-Smith a few days ago after Roki Sasaki signed, and then it was Shi Davidi, and then it was Hector Gomez, and then it was John Heyman, all these different people saying that the Jays aren't done and that they're going to get Santander, or at least they're heavily pursuing him. They did. They got Santander today. Now those same reporters are coming out and saying the Jays aren't done, which they're over the second CBT threshold. They might push $300 million, which means they have a ton of room open to make a bunch of signings. Now, whether that signing is in the form of, which we'll dive into, Pete Alonso, who is highly linked to the Blue Jays. You think about, and we report on that in a minute, you think about Jurickson Profar as well, which would be very intriguing. I think an option that is very plausible at this point. If Shi Davidi dropped the plug there, and I would absolutely love that as well. You start to think about what this means going forward, and it is big, because the fact that they're not done, we knew it, but hearing now from Shi Davidi in his most recent article is extremely exciting. Again, they got Santander, 814 OPS, hits 44 bombs, and that signing is going to be great. It's going to help protect Vladdy. It's going to help protect every other hitter. But most importantly, it's going to just add what the Blue Jays need to this lineup heavily. Now, when you think about the deal as well, towards the CBT, this contract only is hitting $14 million per year towards the CBT threshold, which means they're able to add a lot more. And they would not have done this deferred money and done it this way if they weren't confident in their ability to add other free agents. Now, whether those other free agents are going to be big players or the smaller guys, all signs are pointing to, at this point, it being another big free agent. We heard them linked to Carlos Estevez. We've heard them linked to Pete Alonso. We've heard them linked to a lot of different guys, especially, Jurickson Profar over the last little bit here, over the last few hours specifically. It almost seems like the Jays went from, okay, we missed out on Sasaki, things are bad, to just, we're going to go all in. And by deferring the money, like I covered in a video a couple hours ago, and $14 million only is going towards the CBT, it is very interesting. And Keegan Matheson comes out and says, Anthony Santander has made sense for the Blue Jays all along, so this is tidy business. A simple, solid move, which immediately makes their lineup better. But with one big bat sign, this is where the organization needs to be aggressive and keep the pedal down. And Keegan Matheson comes out and says the Blue Jays still have flexibility to spend, I'm told, after landing Santander. So this is another source saying it. The recent free agent pursuits, going back to Shohei Ohtani, show their budget isn't a rigid number anyway. Still lots of opportunity to fill the roster. So you have Shi Davidi coming out. You have Ben Nicholson-Smith coming out. You have all of these different things happening. And quite frankly, the Jays at this point are willing and are going to be going big. They're still linked to Pete Alonso. They're still linked to a bunch of these other guys. And Jurickson Profar is the big name at the moment to watch if you're a Jays fan. Because again, you can see this here. Well, Jays continue to be linked to Pete Alonso, who could be used at third base. So that's another link to Pete Alonso from Schneider. He links Jurickson Profar as well. And that's what he also said on Sportsnet 590 The Fan before, of course, the article dropped. So usually when Shai does this, he's pretty on the ball. I would presume that they're heavily pursuing Jurickson Profar right now, who is a switch hitter once again, fits positionally, and would also give you a bit of an interesting look. And we'll have other videos covering Jurickson Profar here in the tomorrow, and as reports continue to escalate regarding him. But I mean, Ross Atkins, it was a masterclass of a signing at this point because you got him for $14 million towards the CBT because of the deferred money. You get him potentially for 6 years if he performs well. You add him to the lineup, which we'll dive into in a second here. And now it leaves you open to spend more money. And it makes all the sense in the world now why they gambled on Miles Straw. Not saying that trade was good. It was still a horrible trade. But they are willing to go well above and beyond whatever budget we all imagined, whether it was $20 million, $25 million. They're already crushed that. They're through that. Now they're going to go towards $300 million. And again, Shai Davidi says Santander does not rule them out of other moves. When he says that, and when Ben Nicholson says that, it means they are actively engaged in other moves. I wouldn't be surprised to see moves drop tomorrow, the day after. As they continue, I would expect at least one starting pitcher, probably another reliever, surprisingly enough, and then one more position player who's an everyday guy, whether that's Profar or Pete Alonso. I think they're probably, and we'll have more videos on it, of course, I think they're probably more on the buy low of Pete Alonso. Like if you can snipe him for a cheap amount of money, snag him for really cheap. Whereas Jurickson Profar, they might just be in after. And look at the lineup now. You have Springer, Guerrero, Santander, Bichette, Wagner, Alejandro Kirk, Andres Jimenez, Ernie Clement, and Nathan Lucas. So Nathan Lucas would obviously be replaced by Dalton Varsho once, the playoff roster, if they make it, or even just once Dalton Varsho is healthy. But the big place they have now to upgrade is third base. They need an infielder, and they also need just another bat in general. And I think that, Profar would be interesting, albeit Profar's not a third baseman. Yoan Moncada, we've heard about them. If they go ahead and add Jurickson Profar, who is an outfielder, and then they also add Yoan Moncada on a one-year deal, high upside, your team is looking very, very good. And then, of course, you can have Joey Laprofito in there as well instead of Nathan Lucas. You have Miles Straw as well. But that first 6 to 7, even just the first 7 is very solid. Springer, assuming he has a bit of a bounce back year, nothing crazy, but something solid. Vladdy, Santander, Bo Bichette, Will Wagner, Alejandro Kirk. Kirk's going to be great this season, you'd assume. Andres Jimenez, underrated asset. You need to just fill one more of these holes. You put Dalton Varsho in there. Like, this team is already looking very deep. You add one more bullpen piece. You have one of the better bullpens in baseball. And then just like that, you're back to being a competitive team. But all these reporters are saying more moves are coming. More moves are absolutely coming. And I think fans are going to start to believe that now that the Jays actually made this first move. This is the first domino to fall. You got your guy. Now they need to go and pivot and actually get everybody else, whether that's Profar, whether that's Pete Alonso, whether that's whoever else ends up being. Give me Max Scherzer as well. Max Scherzer, Pete Alonso, and call it an offseason. Maybe even add one more bullpen piece. Carlos Estevez is a name to keep an eye on. I think that the Jays are heavily pursuing him and have been linked to him as well. So someone like that would make a ton of sense for the Jays as well if they're really trying to stock up on their bullpen, because we know they were in on Tanner Scott before he signed, and that would have been a crazy dynamic. Let me know down below what your thoughts are. More moves are coming. Whether it's Pete Alonso, someone else, it's going to happen. And we're going to keep you up to date with all the latest news. So make sure to hit that subscribe button. See you guys later.